Hello. I am very excited for today's show as my conversations with today's guest are always game-changing. If you've been supporting my work, you have seen today's guest's name several times. He's an author, he's an innovator, he's an entrepreneur, and storytelling is a big part of his business as well as every business. Today's guest will help you leverage that into a skill set. His company has evolved heavily since we first spoke and holds a lot of lessons learned in that transition for you, the listeners. To catch you up briefly, since last joining us, Odd Duck is now offering disruptive story mapping for clients in the mental wellness and population health space. Get ready to learn all about that and so much more after we learn how he podcasts. Josh, which platform do you stream your shows through?
I'm on Stitcher.
Very unique answer. You're the first one.
I thought it might be.
I broadcast through Stitcher. On Buzzsprout is my hosting site for all you podcasters or podcasters who want to become one. Stitcher is an Apple, a Spotify, if you will, but for some reason you don't hear it too much. I actually enjoy the format.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, when in the day do you find yourself listening to Stitcher?
So I listen to probably about 15 to 20 podcasts a week. So the answer is whenever I have like a free moment. So I'm like listening when I wake up. I'm listening when I have a little pocket in between, and I listen when I go to bed. But I'm constantly listening or binging something.
Hey, I like that. I need to hold myself more accountable of more podcasts, but I have the unique opportunity to get firsthand insight every time I sit down with an amazing founder like yourself. So you listen in the car, in the house, you're listening everywhere.
Everywhere. That's right.
Always leveling up your mindset. If you can multitask, do it. Josh is making the best use of his time to become a better entrepreneur, which brings him back on That Entrepreneur Show. I am your host, Vincent A. Lancey. And you can learn more about me at Vincent A. Lancey on all social media or vincentalancey.com. If you want weekly exclusive content, be sure to check out Vincent A. Lancey on YouTube. Whether you're looking to start your business from the ground up or scale it, this is the show for you. If it's your first time here, each week since December 2019, I have interviewed the founder of a company or brand to share what has worked for them, what they needed to improve on, and all of their learning lessons along the way right here on this show. There are also bonus episodes for you like today to enjoy. You never know which motivational journey will inspire you most. And for this bonus episode, it is time where we rewind the clock on these shows. I bring back entrepreneurs who have been making a lot of noise and are focused on providing you with firsthand experience. Since it is a Rewind the Clock show, that means the guest is returning. This one is from season 5, episode 86. And here we are on season 12. There's a lot to catch up on. When potential guests reach out to me, I find they fall into 3 categories. They're not a good fit for this particular show. They record an episode and lose touch or don't reproduce the show to their followers to enjoy, or they become much more involved in my work. Like today's guest, he's been grinding around the clock, and it has been a pleasure to see his success firsthand. To catch you up, he is the founder of Odd Duck, where he helps shape and share stories for social justice, public safety, racial equality, health equity, universal health coverage, mental health advocacy, and so much more. And now this company is heavily involved and holds a lot of learning lessons for you. We mentioned a little wellness coming your way. Boutique storytelling for social change. That's what Josh is about. Bring him on is now Josh Gryniewicz. It's great to see you.
Whew, great to see you too, Vince. And I'll say the same thing. I just want to reciprocate that, seeing you grow and grind over the last year. It's been a joy.
Thank you for the kind words, Josh. Please introduce yourself to our audience who missed your first episode.
Absolutely. So I am the founder and chief narrative strategist for Odd Duck. We are a social change or storytelling through social change consultancy. And we really focus on mental wellness and population health or public health in 3 main areas. So that's narrative strategy, helping develop a narrative strategy. We can talk more about what that is. It's developing content with or through a narrative lens. So helping produce and share to the world all sorts of different content pieces through a story lens. And then the third is training and technical assistance. So what are the best practices for storytelling? How do you combine story and data and so on?
I'm looking forward to this. And I think that is something people can learn more about, especially if they're producing content, how they can do it narratively. Where should we start, Josh? Let's revisit the Odd Duck a little more in depth. Let's encourage everybody to check them out at the show's ending. We'll find out how to do that.
Right on, right on. So I would say the first thing, kind of going over the past year, we took our own medicine. So one of the things that we do with our clients, right, is we help them try to figure out where are they making the most impact, what audiences or clients should they be focused on, and what are the services that they should really focus on with laser precision to actually deliver. And it's kind of like the carpenter's workshop or the cobbler's shoes, right? Like you're really good at doing all of these projects and helping everybody else, get their shit together.
Yep.
But you're not necessarily like looking in the mirror. So with the pandemic and with everything that was going on in the past year, we were like, let's get introspective. Let's really look at ourselves, look at the areas where we can make the most impact, and then what can we do, or what services can we provide to maximize that impact. And so that's been the journey that we've really been on, and that I've been on over the past year to get to that point. And as you said in the kind of opening, where we landed was really mental wellness, public health. Those are the two areas.
Yep.
And then beyond that, Vince, is, and this is totally like in line with your show, beyond that is, who are the folks in those spaces who are really doing something different?
Yep.
Who are not trying to, contribute to the field and perpetuate the way things have always been, but are innovating, adapting, and really just sort of doing something new. So those folks who have like a paradigm shifting mentality. And then beyond that, those services, we just said, these are the areas that we think we can help with: the narrative framework, the content production, and the training.
I'd like to now dive a little more into the mental wellness side. I know there's something big that you guys have just created. You've run out with it now. Let's talk about that.
Sure. So the disruptive story mapping is for folks in the mental wellness, mental health space. One of the things that I think has been exciting, especially over the last year or last 2 years, really, but even beyond that, has been this embrace. And this is, you're an advocate at the forefront of this, Vince, where it's not just, let's do mental health as, you and I sitting across from each other in a clinical setting, and that's mental health. It's so much more than that. It's taking care of your body. It's, getting good sleep. It's, through your diet. It's making sure that you have a safe, comfortable environment to go home to. These are all things that contribute to mental wellness. These are all things that are important for our mental health day to day. So the folks who I'm interested in working with are pioneers in that space, who aren't looking at mental health through the traditional lens, but really kind of expanding that definition and working on something that is more encompassing. And the disruptive story map is, how do we help mental health advocates, pioneers in this space, innovators, paradigm shifters, game changers, to actually lean into their story, help shape and share that, and help challenge that overarching narrative of mental health for the betterment of everyone.
I love it. Is there a big project you're working on as one of the initial projects with this launch, or have you already completed one? What are you working on?
Yeah, we're working in a lot of different spaces. We do disruptive story mapping is really for folks like you who are solopreneurs or smaller shops or individual practices that don't necessarily have to have as much alignment internally with their organization as externally with the story they're sharing. So the kind of larger scaled up version of that is what we refer to as narrative framework. It's the same thing. It's just a lot more bells and whistles for a little bit more complicated an organization. And so we've completed a few of those in the past year. One of the ones that I'm most excited about is the Population Health Innovation Lab. And what they do, and again, this is music to your ears, Vince, is, they take startup, the startup kind of mindset, the adaptability and agility of a startup mindset, and they apply it to the public health space, in a space that's not traditionally, quick on its feet. It's not traditionally open to innovation. That's changing. It is changing, and we're seeing that. But what's exciting about the Population Health Innovation Lab is that they help kind of equip the communities that they work with, the public health providers that they work with, to be able to use some of these skills and techniques that we're seeing out of Silicon Valley applied to communities across the country.
Well said. Thank you for telling our audience exactly who your ideal customer is, what you can offer. We've caught up with him. We know what's new with him. We're going to now ask him to discuss how COVID affected everything he was working on.
A lot. And I think, so, kind of talking about this exercise, a lot of that was driven by, the impact of COVID, and saying, what do we need to focus on most overall? I think where we were last year when we talked, I had a couple films that I was working on or working with. I was working with a lot of different social change agents in a lot of different areas. And part of what this exercise helped us do, and part of what we had to explore for ourselves, was like, how do we really focus in on who's having the most impact and where we can have the greatest, most significant impact? And that was in the mental wellness and population health space. And honestly, that if it had not been for having to navigate, COVID and all the complexities of COVID, I don't think we would have that clarity for ourselves that those were the areas that we wanted to have impacted.
You had an opportunity to really slow down and dissect your business. There was less going on, pick apart what you can improve on. Like everyone out there, self-reflection is key. You have to really find a way to turn your weaknesses into strengths. The more you can do that, the better off you can be. Another way you can improve is by seeking out advice from mentors, coaches, anyone in your corner. What is the best piece of advice you were ever given? Who was it from?
So the best piece of advice, I had a professor in college in undergrad who was a psychologist, had a PsyDoc in psychology, a PhD in philosophy, and a PhD in theology. So definitely an underachiever like ourselves. And it was J.P. Dave. He reminded me a little bit of Yoda. And he actually said, this is one of my favorites, he said, "Josh, you have to have an open mind, but not so open that stuff starts falling out."
I like that. I like that a lot. You have to be able to be flexible, I think, is what you're saying there. Stay focused on the prize, but times we certainly learned are changing, especially from COVID. Nothing is going to stay the same, and you have to be able to pivot. Josh has done an excellent job at that, along with some great advice. He's going to give you some more advice right now, though. When I ask him to recommend either one book, workshop, tool, app on your phone, anything that helps you thrive to this community of entrepreneurs, what is it?
Hands down, I would say the book is Art of Impossible by Stephen Kotler. Stephen Kotler is sort of like, well, this is my description, but he's like a punk rock Malcolm Gladwell. So he's a science journalist, but he, used to hang out with extreme sports enthusiasts, extreme sports athletes and so on. And he was seeing what he describes as the impossible every day, right? Like people just, breaking world records over and over and over again. And he said, how can we apply this to other areas? So it's his first attempt at a business book. And Vince, I swear by it. I thought that it was incredible. It's one of the most gifted books that I shared over the past year. And it was game-changing for me. And he also has a whole platform, the Flow Research Collective, that's built around the fundamental ideas that are shared in that book. And
I just added it to my book queue, my sticky note on my computer, Art of Impossible. And who is the author again?
It's Stephen Kotler.
Stephen Kotler. Thank you for sharing that, everybody listening on there. Josh is a reader, career learner, and it helps him thrive. So be sure to pick up that book or add it to your queue. As everyone knows, and Josh, especially because he's been on the show. When I bring back a guest for Rewind the Clock episodes, we do not do a spotlight story. Instead, I give the guest the opportunity to shout out, show some love to another entrepreneur out there who's grinding, who needs some attention. Who do you want to shout out?
Yeah, I actually want to shout out Sue Grinnell, who is the director of the Population Health Innovation Lab that I mentioned earlier, and her whole team, Christina, Catherine, Stephanie, Tara. They're amazing. And I think, Vince, especially now, especially in this day and age, with everything that we're seeing with the pandemic, the services that they provide, the work that they're doing is inspirational. And it's absolutely necessary and incredible. So that's who I would want to shout out.
I love it. Be sure to tag her, please, when the episode does release, as this is the first Rewind the Clock of season 12. She'll enjoy the show. And with that, Josh, I got to thank you so much for coming on, not only talking expansion, but especially during COVID, but so much advice along the way, including the last book right there. It's great to see you again because of how much we have connected over the past year or two. I, for one, am looking forward to this, looking more into the mental wellness side of things that you created. Is there some links that we can look out for, try to find this?
I think the best place to go is odddoc.io. That's our site, and everything's going to be housed there.
All right, be sure to go to that site. But before you do, it's time for his last word.
I actually want to give the last word, or share the last word with you, that I've appreciated having somebody to collaborate with and to connect with on this journey. I get a lot of value out of all of your episodes, and a shout out to your audience as well. I'm glad you have so many listeners who are so devoted.
Hey, we appreciate you having Josh. It's been great to get to know you as well. And I look forward to seeing your new success. But while you're on social media, while you're checking out everything oddduck.io has to offer, check us out too. We are at That Entrepreneur Show on all social media except Twitter. We are at Podcast by Lancey. At Vincent A. Lancey on all social media, YouTube, and the website is vincentalancey.com. We check out my books. Please let me know what you think. The latest book is Mental Health Week. And as always, let's end the show with a quote. This one's from Ben Franklin, and I love this one. I didn't fail the test. I just found 100 ways to do it wrong. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week on That Entrepreneur Show. Josh, talk soon.
Thanks, Vince.